Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bville Live. Yesterday we talked about making panini sandwiches with leftovers from Thanksgiving, and today I have another twist on the panini. Yesterday we used brie and pear to combine the turkey and stuffing and greens and other filling favorites. Today we're going to use the apple. I have lots of ripe, crisp apples. New York State is a wonderful place to get apples. Some of the best apples I've ever tasted have been since I moved up here to Baldwinsville. So today I'm going to get started on how to make an apple Swiss turkey panini with sweet potato stuffing and cranberry sauce. Okay, so let's begin. All right, so first thing you want to do is wash your apple, which I've done already, and you're going to cut your apple down and you're going to cut it into small slivers. So when you're cutting your apple, first cut it in half and then cut it on an angle like this, and then just cut the core out. Now you can also use an apple core. I do have one, but I end up having to slice it into thin slices, and I really want thin slices for this sandwich. So when you make your paninis, you can use almost any combination. Just think of things that pair well together and taste good. I happen to like the taste of apples with cheddar cheese or Swiss cheese, so we're going to make both Swiss and cheddar today. I also have some apple crisp left over, and we're going to actually use that in one of the paninis. My son can't eat raw apples. He has problems with his lip swelling, so but he can eat cooked apples because it changes the structure of the proteins in the apple. So for his panini, we're going to use cooked apples from the apple crisp. So if you used up all your apples in the apple crisp, that's fine. If not, and you can tolerate raw apples, you can use that as well. I leave the skins on the apple. It adds more fiber. It's healthier, and it gives it a nice crunch. Okay, so you're going to slice these apples up so they're nice and thin like that. Okay, I'll slice this one up. Alright, that's good. Alright, I'm using 12 grain multi-grain bread. I like to use any kind of whole grain breads. Any kind of bread that you use. I'm also going to be using a little bit of sourdough today. So for a first sandwich, I'm going to use some Swiss cheese. I happen to have some Swiss left over in the freezer. I always freeze my cheeses if I don't use them up. And I just pop them in a Ziploc bag and seal them, and they last for months. So sometimes when you take them out of the freezer, they may stick together a little bit. So I just take my knife and I run it through the piece. And I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to put one on each side of my bread. Now you don't have to use cheese for these. The cheese helps everything adhere together. And I'm trying to use stuff up that I have. So, and that's what I'm doing. And you don't have to use a lot. Basically this is one full slice of Swiss cut in half. All right. So remember when I told you yesterday when we were doing paninis, it's dry, wet, wet, dry. You want to have a layer of dry, a layer of wet, a layer of dry. That's the way to make your paninis. That way nothing, you don't want to end up with a soggy center or soggy bread. So that's why I always put something dry or a piece of cheese on the outside, and then the inside is going to be layered with the wet dry again. Okay, you're going to lay your apples out. So it's going to look like that. Okay. And then I'm going to take some turkey and slice. You don't need like one piece of turkey is all you need. And you're just going to slice that into slivers. That way your sandwich is mostly vegetables and fruit, and you're using your meat as flavoring. It's better for your heart to have less meat. You don't have to use meat at all. You can make these strictly vegetarian. I have the turkey left over, and we're not big on just eating plates and plates of meat, so I always try and pair it with as many fruits and vegetables as I can. Okay, so I put my meat on it. It's going to look like that. Alright, so now I have a dry, I'm going to add a wet. So I'm going to add some sweet potatoes to this, and that's going to make it sweet and savory. And I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons. You don't need a lot on these paninis. If you put too much on, it's going to be too difficult to eat. And I'm just going to spread that around. Remember, once you put it in your press or on your grill, it's going to squish out. So about 2 tablespoons, tablespoon and a half of sweet potato mix. And then you're going to add a little bit of stuffing. Not much, because I have a lot of bread on here. That's probably about a tablespoon of stuffing. My stuffing has a lot of carrots and celery in it that we saw, and you can look at other videos to see those other recipes for the foods that I'm using. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little bit of cranberry sauce, and that's going to add a little bit of tartness and a little bit of sweetness. So not much, just a little bit, so when you kind of get to the center, you get a nice surprise, or wherever it ends up. As you can see, I really didn't put much in the way of the cranberry on there. It's just a slight little bit. And you can spread that around a little bit if you want. All right, and then I fold my top on top. Now, I am using crust of bread. I don't waste anything. My son doesn't mind the crust. When it's grilled on the panini, it doesn't really matter that much. I'm using a George Foreman grill that I have laying around. You can put it in a frying pan, but then you might have to use a little bit of butter. The reason I use the George Foreman grill is because it's quick and easy, and it tells me when it's done. There's a little light on the top. When the light turns off, it'll turn on when it's heated up, and it'll turn off when it's done. I use parchment paper. That way, I don't have to use any butter. So I put my sandwich inside the parchment paper. It's easier if you fold the parchment paper in half. And then I'm going to put the whole panini in here. Now I'm going to press it down a little bit because this isn't hot yet, but otherwise you'll have to use the handle. So that hasn't quite heated up yet, so that one's going to take the longest. But then I start on my second one. Now, I was running out of bread today, so I had 1 piece of sourdough left, 1 piece of whole grain left. I don't mind eating that myself. Or, you know, I'll give it to my son. He has that, or actually I'm going to make his next because I'm going to make his with cheddar, so I'll use a heel for his, since he likes heels. So for his, I'm going to use cheddar cheese. If you have a block of cheddar, that's fine. I just happen to have some of these cheddar slices for grilled cheese that I use sometimes. And I'm going to put a slice of cheese on either side. Just like that. And then for his, I am using the apple crisp. As I said, he needs to have cooked apples. So I'm just going to kind of fork out a couple of apples on here. Now these apples also have a little bit of nuts and brown sugar on them, so it's going to add a little bit more sweetness to his. But that's fine, you know, it'll taste good. I just don't want him to have a reaction when he eats a sandwich. Now I think, you know, it's going in the panini press. Could he use raw apples in there? Maybe, but you know, I don't like to take chances when people have allergy reactions, and you shouldn't either. So save that for dessert later. So I just put a couple of slices of the apple crisp on. That's a good way to use up the apple crisp too. Now, since that was a little bit wet, I'm going to switch my combination and put a little bit of stuffing on top of that, so it doesn't get too moist. So that's about 2 tablespoons of stuffing that I put on top of the apples. And then I'm going to put a little bit of sweet potatoes. And the sweet potatoes have some marshmallow and nuts, so that's going to make it really sweet, but that's all right. It's not a whole lot. I mean, there's maybe like 1 marshmallow that got melted in there. And I'm going to spread that around a little bit. And then I'm going to add the cranberry on top, and that's going to add a little tartness. It'll take some of the sweetness away with the tartness, so it won't be overly sweet. Not a lot, just maybe like 1-2 teaspoons is all you need. Okay. And then I'm going to put my lid on that. Okay. And when this first panini is done, I'll put the second one in. So this one is going up next. This in the next rotation. And then I'm going to make my sourdough 12 grain bread. So I have a piece of 12 grain bread and a piece of sourdough. I like sourdough a lot, so I had some of that laying around. And I'm going to use the Swiss for this one and the regular apples. So take out my Swiss, put one on one side, and I only have 2 pieces of Swiss left in here. I have a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and use it up. Now, what you can do too is, if you're making different sandwiches and you want to put them on a plate, you can cut them in 4s and little triangles. That would be nice if you have guests, and that way they can try a little bit of everything. And since I have a little more Swiss on this one, I'm going to add a little Swiss to my son's. I don't want to put too much on mine, and he can afford the calories better than I can. So that'll be nice. Okay, and then on mine, I'm going to use the apples. I got a lot of hits on the paninis. I was surprised, actually, on all my cooking videos. I'm doing pretty well with them. So don't forget to check out my other cooking videos. Subscribe, like them. Love to hear your comments. If there's something you'd like to see me make, I'll be glad to do it for you. Just let me know. And I'm just getting used to working on the editing, so they're not perfect, but hey, doing life is, right? I always say, the only thing that's perfect in life is God. And I'm not God, so I don't have to worry about being perfect. So I used to tell my kids all the time when I taught. All right, so I have my Swiss cheese on there, I have my apples on there, and then next I'm going to add my piece of turkey. So it's going to get out a little piece of turkey on here. And if you just have scraps like this, that's fine too. You can just put those on. Like I said, the turkey is more for flavoring than it is for sustenance. I really want this to be more about the fruit and vegetables and less about the meat. And that's a really good healthy way to eat, is to use meat as a flavoring. And then eventually you can wean yourself off of meat and eat more vegetables. Okay, so I have dry on there that I'm going to put wet, which would be a scoop of sweet potato. Okay, and I'm just going to, I don't want a lot of sweet potato on mine, so I'm going to put 1 tablespoon on there. And then I'm just going to use 1 tablespoon of stuffing on mine. I don't want a lot of bread and stuffing on mine. And a little bit of cranberry for tartness in the center. And I'm just going to use a little scoop on mine. And then I'm going to put my lid on. And that's going to go up on the press. Okay. So let's see where we are with this. I think my circuit flipped. All right, I'm going to check that out, and then I'll be back to show you what the finished product looks like. Okay, one of the things I realized that I forgot to put on my sandwich is one of the most important, which were the greens. So I ran out of the cooked greens that I had made and I had left over, but I had a box of organic greens, arugula, lettuce, spinach, and whatnot. So I just popped it in the microwave for 1 minute. I'm going to put it in the strainer real quick. Press out the water. And add it to the sandwich. So I have one on the grill already. I'm just going to lift the lid on that and add a little bit of green. Okay, and I'll finish that one up, and then I'm going to add greens to this. You don't have to add the greens, but you know, I like to add greens to everything that I cook with. Greens and beans are two of the most nutritious things that you can have. So we'll add those on and cook them up, and I'll show you what they look like when I'm done.